Thank you so much for joining me for this hospital marketing planning guide. In the past, I have done this a number of ways, and one that seemed to be the most successful was by hosting a series of how-to webinars for new hospital managers or as a refresher, and then having some open calls for Q&A. I do realize that did pose a problem for a lot of our hospital leadership team because sometimes the timing that I scheduled for a webinar was not conducive with your hospital's staffing or emergencies came up. So I'm trying something completely new, and I'm going to record myself going through this and send it to everybody so that you have this on demand and you can listen to it at your own discretion. And we're also going to be doing some new stuff when it comes to best practice sharing and idea sharing as well. So stay tuned for more on that towards the end of this call. But for right now, we're going to go through the 2020 Hospital Marketing Planning Guide. And if you are listening to this and you are worried because it's your first time as a VCA hospital or it's your first time doing one of these as a hospital manager, do not worry. Everybody is in the same boat this year because we actually redid our entire marketing planning template. So everybody is going to need to watch this. Everybody's starting from ground zero. Some people might just have a better understanding, but that's where I'm hoping that this presentation is going to be able to help clear out some of those insecurities that you might have when it comes to creating a marketing plan. So we're going to be going through a few things on this call. The first thing is going to be just setting up a marketing roadmap. Then I'm going to dissect the marketing template itself. We're going to talk about programs and strategies because that's the new section this year. We're going to review some core tactics and then talk about the marketing calendar itself. And then lastly, I'm just going to refresh on the suggested workflow before I move into that best practice and idea sharing platform that I mentioned. So when it comes to the marketing roadmap, your local marketing plan is going to be utilized to help you reinforce marketing opportunities within your hospital. Ideally, we want this plan to be an extension of your ops plan. We don't want it to be completely separate. Your ops plan and your marketing plan should be like husband and wife, and they should work together to create a happy marriage. It should include some programs and strategies as well as some tactics or initiatives that will help you get to your hospital's goals from your operating plan, but using some of the marketing programs that we have already created and marketing tactics as well. You're going to hear a few terms throughout the entire planning process, but you'll see them on your marketing plan as well. One of them is key performance indicator or KPI. That's going to be kind of the how-to for measurement, and then return on investment or ROI is what you're going to use to be able to assess the success of each initiative upon completion. So, without further ado, you want to make sure that your marketing plan supports your hospital's goals and supports your operating plan, is simple and clear, and is manageable and measurable. This should not be a stress-inducing task. This should be able to help set you up for success from a marketing standpoint for 2020. Where are we going to begin? First things first, we're going to set our goals. So if you have your goals already created from your ops plan, if you've gone ahead and done your ops or started on your ops plan already, that's fantastic. You're going to take those goals and move them into the marketing plan, and we're going to work off of that. Some examples of goals are going to be increased revenue, increased order count, increase your new clients, and increase your new client return rate. Those are just some examples. Then we're going to focus on the strategies and the tactics that are going to be able to help you achieve that goal. So one of the strategies might be Care Club, and your plan for Care Club might be to obtain a renewal rate of 75% throughout the year of 2020. Then you're going to think of tactics to be able to help you get that to a success. And one of those might be your community events. So if you have 2 Care Club events or 2 events through the year, and you really focus on Care Club and maybe anybody who comes in from those events gets a waived Care Club enrollment fee, that might help you get to your Care Club goal. And then lastly, we're going to calendar and estimate your costs. So that's where you're going to see your plan of action, which is on the third page of the plan. And we're just going to kind of put it all together and tie it with a beautiful little bow. And then to help keep you accountable, however you best track your time and utilize time management, whether that's Outlook calendars, whether that's the marketing portal calendar, whether it's an actual physical planner, you're going to be able to kind of transpose that based on your quarterly time objectives and put that into your planner as well. So let's talk about strategy and tactic, because I feel like these terms might confuse some people. So I want to define them very clearly before we go into the planning process. Your strategy is going to be a larger overall plan, which is going to consist of several tactics. And your tactic is going to be specific plans or tasks or even procedures that are carried out, but that might not necessarily take as long of amount of time as a strategy will. So your strategy essentially is your broad or big picture, and then your tactic is your narrow picture, how you're going to be able to obtain that big picture step by step in a shorter period of time. An example would be your strategy of future booking for annual exam appointments if you want to increase that by 10% for your existing clients for the year of 2020. It's something that is forward thinking. It's not going to be accomplished within that first quarter of 2020. So your tactics to be able to support that are going to be training all of your CSRs on talking points and creating even an incentive program for your team to help motivate people. So that is how you're going to be able to differentiate the two, the strategy and the tactic. When it comes to the newer section of the local marketing plan, the programs and the strategies, we don't want this to be daunting. We just want this to be more of a cognitive exercise rather than what the plan used to be in the past, which just listed out a bunch of tactics and had you check which ones you were going to do in like a Word box formation. So you are going to want to choose the programs and strategies that help align with your goals. That might mean you aren't necessarily filling out this entire section. You're only filling out 5 or 6 that actually support those goals. It also might mean you are filling out the entire section depending on what those goals are. You also want to make sure that the programs and the strategies that you're focusing on are relevant and support your regional focus. So I know in the Northeast we have dashboards that all of the hospitals have been looking into that include a large number of things from retriever check-ins to Care Club to speed goals. Some of those certain aspects that you want to be able to increase on your dashboard are actually going to be strategies that support an overall larger goal. So you might see that going through here and get a little confused. And then like I said, although all of these programs that are listed might not necessarily be a focus for your hospital when it comes to terms of your 2020 marketing plan, all hospitals should have a basic understanding of all of these programs. So if when you're going through this, you realize that you might not necessarily all have a really good understanding of CMT, or your conversion is really low, it might trigger you to have a retraining with your team, make sure that there's incentives, make sure that the entire team is calling 3 times a day, and just open up the door for that conversation. And that might not necessarily be in conjunction with your marketing plan. So when we talk about core tactics and some activities that are going to support your goal, we have a lovely example here. Where goals are focused on those from the first page with the addition of the new service. So you have like increased revenue, increased order count, increase in clients, increased service. So then your programs and strategies are going to be national programs or things that we already have that are created, such as home delivery, Care Club, or if it's a new service, what is that service that we're looking to be able to market? And then your tactics are really the how-to. So how are you going to be able to promote home delivery? Here's all your tactics. And then hopefully that promotion of home delivery is going to increase your home delivery sales and revenue, and then that's going to increase your total revenue. We want everything to really fit in line with one another and to be able to support one another. So if you've been with VCA for a few years and you've done marketing plans in the past, you may notice that these next two slides, this one and the one after it, look a little familiar. So these are those tactics that you're going to be able to help utilize when it comes to supporting activities and programs. In the past, these were what were listed out when it came time for you to check the box. So you can go through, and we have them set up so that they are supporting some larger goals, and it should give you an idea of what tactics will be able to help support what. And then the last step of the marketing plan process is going to be putting it all together in a plan of action. And you're going to be able to utilize this calendar feature to be able to do so. So you're going to fill out one calendar section per goal, and the max is 4 goals. I don't want anybody going over 4 goals because it's going to be too cumbersome for you to be able to put as much time and attention needed to obtain those goals 100%. You're going to then list the chosen VCA programs and the specific tactics that help support the goal, and then you're going to put the KPI next to each program. Each program or tactic should have its own KPI. And I have a list of suggested KPIs that you will be able to use as reference, but also get creative. I mean, you guys are the ones who work with eSpot and certain reports and certain codes and things like that every single day, so you know where to find things and to be able to track them. And as you get closer to actually implementing some of these tactics, please feel free to reach out to me if you are unsure how you're actually going to be able to move forward with obtaining that strategy program to help support that goal. We can work together and create either a local marketing action plan, or I might have something that is already created that you can use as a guide. The second to last thing is this year there's also a call for results. So ideally we want this plan to be a living document. And in the past, the way that it was set up, it was just really cumbersome to be able to be a living document. So we're hoping that by changing the format, we're going to be able to utilize this as accountability and check-ins for all of us. And it's going to be my guide when talking to any hospital manager, either in the hospital, at a meeting, on the phone, etc., to be able to pull up. So when it comes time to participating in or creating or completing a strategy or tactic, we want to be able to just go back and see what those results are. So we have a column here where we'll be able to kind of notate exactly what those results were from that program and if it was successful or not. Then you'll be able to plan it out in the quarterly initiatives and then put in estimated costs. Your estimated costs are estimated. If you go over budget, that's fine when it comes to what that estimated cost is, but it really is just for you to understand what your local marketing annual budget is and how you're going to be able to do marketing funded strategies and programs within those guardrails of that local marketing budget. So whether it's ordering business cards and brochures to being a sponsor for a new shelter program, you have to make sure that everything is allocated appropriately. The last thing, again, if you have been with me or in the Northeast group for the last couple of years, you should be familiar with this, is including your resource and responsibility for each tactic. That's going to be who is responsible and who's going to be held accountable to make sure that that goal that program is being met, and then resources. So how are you going to be working on that program? So the first example here is your CMT conversion rate. The resources are going to be your CMT reports, staff meetings, training CSRs, creating a call script if needed, and then your KPI is going to be the conversion rate per report. And then you put down anybody who's going to be responsible for that. So CMT is largely CSR driven, so likely you're going to have your CSR supervisor spearhead it, but then your CSRs are also going to be responsible as well. This is just so that you are able to have the conversations with the right people in the event that things fall through the cracks, or in the event that we are not necessarily meeting the intended goal that we've set for ourselves. You can have that conversation and figure out exactly what went wrong, what can we improve on, what's going on. So just as a quick refresher, we're circling back to exactly what our workflow is going to be when it comes to sitting down and putting together a marketing plan. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your goals from your operating plan and transfer them over to the marketing plan. Then you're going to take a look at those programs and strategies and see which one of those support those goals. Then you're going to take a look at some of the tactics that we have listed and see what you're doing in the hospital or what you can be doing to help support that program or strategy. The last thing you're going to do is you're going to take all of that information, put it in the plan of action section, put down any estimated costs in your KPIs, tie it in a bow, and send it to me. I do want to just remind you that your plan should be simple. It should be clear. It should be easy to read if for some reason you move to a different hospital and a new person comes in. They should be able to understand exactly what your thought process was. And then it should also be measurable and manageable. So that if we pick this up in 6 months and I say, what was your thought process behind using this as your KPI, you understand exactly what that was. So if you have any questions, once you start to actually put the pencil to the paper and work on this, feel free to reach out to me. That's my phone number and my email address. You can call me, you can text me, you can send a smoke signal, carrier pigeon, neon signs, however you get my attention, please go for it. But before you get all worried, I do want to share a new quote-unquote platform that we're going to be able to utilize this year when it comes to uploading, monitoring, sharing our best practices for the local marketing plan. So in the past, it had been a little bit cumbersome because it seemed like a lot of times we were sending emails back and forth. Hospital managers would send me their draft report or their draft plan. I would go through, I would read it, I would make comments, I would send that back to them in an email. Things would get lost in translation. I don't want that to happen. So I'm also trying to figure out a way where you will be able to communicate with your other hospital managers in your region. And I think I came up with a pretty good happy medium. So let's share this screen. So we're going to be able to utilize Yammer groups, which are kind of like very small SharePoint groups, if you will. How are you going to be able to get to a Yammer group? I'm so glad you were thinking that. So when you come to Wolf Connect, you're just going to click on this VCA Unite, which is Yammer, and it's going to expand that Yammer page to a full tab. I have created all of the planning groups based on individual regions. So we're just going to go into any 7 because it's the first one. And you'll see that there is a group page for you where you will be able to have conversations, upload files, search things, ask questions, etc. I want you guys to be as active on here as you feel you should be, but also I want this to be a space where you guys can share some best practices, or feel free to ask me and I can share some of the best practices that I may have seen in other hospitals and other regions as well. So if you have not used Yammer before, you're unfamiliar with Yammer, this is also going to be a great way for you to start utilizing that as well. If you have a question and you want to ask somebody specifically in your region, all you have to do is tag them, and they will get an email alert that they were tagged on a post in the Yammer group. If you have just a general question, feel free to put it out here. But I would recommend tagging people who you want to be able to see it so that they get notified. Also, in the event that I make any type of announcement or notification or am asking a question, I'm likely going to be putting it through these channels as well, so that you will get an email letting you know that there's something new in here, whether it's I upload a file, I make comments and edits on your marketing plan, or I'm just reminding you about the deadline that's coming up. I want this to be as user-friendly and as collaborative of a space as possible, so don't hesitate to use it. So continuing on with this page, as you can see, there's nobody in this group yet. Once I am done with this presentation, I will add everybody to the group. You will get an email notification letting you know that you have been added to a group, and if you don't have a Yammer account, you'll need to create one. I also have pinned the PowerPoint presentation that I just went through here to the right-hand side in a PDF form. So if during the planning process you want to review or refer back to any of those slides, they are all right here for you. And if you go to the files section, you will also see I have some other files here. So I have some examples for matching goals to tactics and those KPI suggestions that I mentioned. This is a document which has been a supplemental resource for planning in the past few years. So there might be some new KPIs here, but this is a good basis for you to be able to figure out how you're going to be measuring the success of programs. And then I also have just the blank planning template and then a sample of a marketing plan with a new format that I quickly put together for you guys. So let's take a look in that. So as you can see, we have our goals outlined for 2020, and these are the goals that are coming from our operating plan. And then I went through our programs and our strategies. So anything that's in bold is edited by me. So I kind of just figured out what programs were going to be best to support those goals, and then quickly wrote down what our overall goal is going to be for that. I didn't necessarily get granular with how I'm going to increase my conversion rate from 75% to 45, or 75% from 45%. But this is here to remind me that, okay, this is going to be my program and my strategy, and this is going to help me drive new clients into the hospital. So really, this is kind of a workbook format, if you will. And it was designed to help encourage a conversation between you and your leadership team, so that it's not just the hospital manager's input, it's the entire leadership team's input, and you can figure out what's working in your hospital or what you need to focus on in order to accomplish those goals. So high level up here with your programs and your strategies, and you can make some certain notes like, okay, never forget already a focus, I didn't need to do that. But I do want to make sure that I'm putting focus on shifting to nutrition and chronic meds. And as you can see, I did not necessarily fill out all of these. I only filled out what was pertaining to my overall goals for 2020, and that's okay. And then you're going to take those goals and the programs that you just kind of edited next to and used as like a think slot, and you'll put them into your plan of action calendar. So if you're curious to know what your budget is, let me know. I will be able to tell you what your local marketing budget was for 2019, and you can use that as a baseline. And then you're just going to fill in the information for your goals. So my first goal is increasing revenue, and then I'm going to talk about increasing my Care Club enrollments, which is my strategy above, and then exactly how I'm going to be able to do that. So this is where I want you to get granular. I want you to get as specific as possible. You cannot be too specific. And then I'm going to put down the resources. So who's responsible? What platforms am I using, or what reports am I using? And then who's responsible for making sure that everybody should be bought into Care Club. It's everybody's conversation to be had. Then I'm going to move over to my Care Club saturation report and then my estimated costs, since one of my tactics to help increase my Care Club enrollments was to host a Care Club open house in the spring and invite non-Care Club members. So I put $500 for costs for that. And then I just went down the same thing. Okay, so increase home delivery enrollment. Perfect. And here's how. Focusing on enrolling food on chronic RX orders, using ScriptShare and marketing portal to contact clients and let them know about home delivery, etc. So this is how your goal and plan of action section should look once it's all put together. And then in the bottom of the plans this year, we do have sections for notes. So if you want to write back and forth, or you have notes that you want to be able to help me understand exactly what your thought process is, feel free to put them in there. Same thing with your ROD when your ROD reviews, and then when I review, I will put my notes in here as well, or I will edit it in Word and put it in a comment section so that the comment bubble will pop up right there. But it will all be able to live through this Yammer group, and we'll be able to utilize this throughout 2020. And you will be able to have access to it. Your ROD will be able to have access to it, and I will also be able to have access to it. So when you upload your draft, I want you to upload it here in the file section and make sure that it's named just like this sample one. So your AU first, your hospital name, and then underscore 2020 local marketing plan. That just helps me understand exactly whose plan it is, when was the last time I went in it, when's the last time anybody else went in it, what version it is, etc. So I'll have a checklist on my end to make sure that I'm going through and I've seen them at least once before I send them off to the home office in early October. So with that said, hopefully this isn't too daunting. I know that it's a lot of change, but I'm hoping that it's a change to make your life easier. And again, if you have any questions about anything regarding local marketing plans, you know where to find me. Give me a call, shoot me an email, or tag me in a conversation here, and I'll be able to get back to you within 24 hours. That's my promise to you. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will chat with you all soon.